If you like this watch, I deserve some of the credit. If you hate this watch, I deserve some of the blame. Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. I include a moans and niggle section in every single review that I make because I don't think the perfect watch exists, and if it does exist, it could probably be cheaper, therefore it's no longer perfect. But normally I am just pissing in the wind, nobody pays any attention to what I've got to say. For once though, it seems like somebody did indeed listen to my suggestions. I reviewed the Peren Nera way back at the end of 2018 and I liked the watch, but I thought there were a number of areas where there was certainly room for improvement. Indeed, I finished the video by saying this. So there you have it, the Peren Nera. I think that every one of you should go out and buy one of these watches, so that they then go on to make the Peren Nera Mark II. There's a lot of potential in this watch. I think with a few tweaks, they could be a really, really interesting and very well-priced, unusual offering on their hands. Same t-shirt. Still fits. On my wrist today is the Peren Nera Rogue. Effectively, this is the Peren Nera version 2 that I was calling for at the end of that video. The owner of the company, Andy, got in touch with me a few months ago and said that they had updated the model according to my complaints in that original review video. No pressure on me today then. You saw the pop-up, I'm sure. This video is sponsored by Peren. The watch on my wrist is a prototype, but they will be sending me a production unit in due course. The question today though is, did my suggestions make the watch better or did they make it worse? Let's flip the camera and find out. Alright then, the pressure's on today. Do I know what I'm talking about? Should brand owners listen to me? Should all of you listen to me? We are about to find out. I guess the ultimate tell will be today, is there going to be a moans and niggles section? Have they eradicated all of the issues that I saw with the Peren Nera Mark I in this new Nera Rogue? We shall see. So Peren, meaning perennial, everlasting. That is not Freddie Mercury's moustache. There's a set of vampire fangs. This is a Transylvanian themed watch. I believe therefore that the owner is perhaps from Romania or has Romanian origins, because Transylvania is a piece of what is now Romania. There's a little bit of text here. Peren is a brand which does not have a beginning nor an end, for it was not invented nor was it conceived. I have to say that makes no more sense in 2022 than it did when I first read it in 2018. Nonetheless, there is the watch. One thing they have not changed over the intervening period is the price. It must be the only thing on planet Earth that has not gone up considerably since 2018. $450 therefore. That is on the leather strap, which is the one that I've got in for review. Similarly, on the NATO, there's a one-piece Zulu. If you want a full stainless steel bracelet, it costs $520. Be aware there is a second variant of this one, what they call the Rogue X. It's the same watch at the same price point. It is also a limited run of 300 individually numbered pieces, but it has a 12-hour bezel rather than a more traditional, if minimalist, diving style bezel that features on the Rogue. And there is the watch. Now you could legitimately call this one a homage, as in inspired by and not just copying. The owner makes no secret of the fact that he was inspired by this watch, a turn-neck Rayville TR900 from the 1960s, military issued watch, very limited run. They are now worth a small fortune. In fact, here is his own photo comparing the two watches with the Peren on the right and the Tornek on the left. There are some similarities, but yeah, it's not really a direct copy, is it? I really do like the design. Incredibly legible, clean, and I think quite modern looking, despite the fact that it was inspired by a watch from the 1960s. Let's talk dimensions then, and let's talk one area that I felt there was room for improvement with the original, that being the thickness. They could probably make it about 2mm thinner. There seems to be a lot of space behind that movement. I'm not quite sure why you would use an ETA 2824 and then have it at 14+mm. The Rogue is 12.8mm thick, so they did manage to take over 1.5 mm from the original watch's thickness. They did switch from an ETA 2824 to a Salita 200 though. It's the same movement. The Sellita is just a clone of the ETA. So I think the change has come from the case back. It was a display case back with too much of a gap, I felt, in the previous one. It is a solid case back. Perhaps that's why they were able to make it thinner. Nice and thin on wrist now as a consequence. The other dimensions that you need to concern yourself with being 39mm in diameter, 48mm lug to lug, 20mm lug width, and on this supplied leather strap, 93 grams. Talking of the leather strap, I also wasn't happy with the one on the original. So this is the original strap that, as noted, I haven't been wearing very much. Haven't been wearing because I think they've overbuckled it. Giant Panerai style buckle, almost as wide as the watch itself. I think that is a little overdone. And look what they've done to the buckle. What an improvement. That Panerai one was a little bit ridiculous. This one much more fitting the size of the watch. Case finish hasn't changed from the previous model, which is a good thing because it was very nice. Drilled lugs are a bonus. We have a bead blasted effect here. It's a kind of multi-tonal. That is a PVD coated bezel. We have Dracula's fangs, not Freddie Mercury's moustache, on the screw down crown, 200 meters of water resistance, and a piece of flat sapphire crystal with anti-reflective undercoating. One thing though that has changed is the bezel. You see, there were no bezel markings on the original, which is fine. I think the watch looked good and it's a stylistic choice. However, the way they had done it left me scratching my head a little. And then there's the bezel. It rotates, but I'm not quite sure why. I mean, what are you actually going to time with that? It is almost illegible. I mean, unless you're fluent in Braille, then you're never going to know what time it is or what time it was or what time you were timing. Fix the bezel. And fix it they did, but not necessarily in the way that I was anticipating. I thought they would fix it as in make it immobile. They haven't done that, they have changed it. It is still a 120 click unidirectional rotating bezel. The markings on the outer bezel though have changed. It feels great. Tactile, sounds good, and everything lines up. I guess they did the logical thing and they changed the insert to actually feature dive markings, but minimal dive markings. You're probably not going to be using this one to time a dive. There is a loom pip there, so you could, I suppose, but there are no minute markers yet. It's still a stylistic choice, but I think it looks better than the original, which is good, and it is actually functional in a way that the original wasn't. So what does this new bezel insert mean for the looks of the watch? Well, I think they actually improved it. I think tonally they've got it spot on. I like the amount of black and I think it goes nicely with that kind of sea green dial. Well, actually it's a lake green dial. It's inspired by a Transylvanian lake. The fact that the indices on the dial are slightly recessed into the chapter ring, inspired by some Transylvanian caves. So there is a bit of a theme running through it, but it's not over the top. I don't think the design elements don't end up looking too kitsch. It is quite simple though. Printed dial, printed in white, Peren automatic and the vampire fangs again above the pinion, and Nera in yellow, the only colour apart from that green dial on the watch, and 200 metres, 660 feet printed beneath it. Those are just printed indices. There's several layers of loom on those, so there is a slightly raised look to them. Minute markers printed, they are flat. Date complication at the 3. Now they have properly colour matched the date this time. It was either white or black in previous incarnations. This one has that same deep green colour with nicely legible white Arabics on top of it. I think it looks great. I also really like the fence post hands, incredibly legible. They're pretty plain, but they are diamond cut, no rough edges here, everything just in white, and they really are quite long. That minute hand goes all the way out to those indices and the second hand pushes even almost beyond the minute hand. Overall, I think it is clean, uncomplicated, and very, very legible. Now let's talk about the movement briefly, starting by looking at the case back that it lurks behind. I don't think I have ever seen a more comprehensive spec sheet on a case back before. Have a look at the way they've structured it. It says case stainless steel, movement automatic, depth 200 meters, loom Superluminova BGW9. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Production Swiss made, and crystal sapphire. Another thing I've never seen before, it says if found contact perenwatches.com. I guess that as each of these watches is going to have an individual serial number, in theory, if one is lost, found and reported, they can trace it back to the original owner. That is asking quite a lot of the person that finds it though, isn't it? The SW200 is a 26 jewel hacking and hand winding Swiss made high beat auto. auto, 4 Hz, 28,800 vibrations per hour. These are regulated by Peren before the watches are shipped. This one's certainly reflective of that. Plus 5 seconds per day, very healthy amplitude. That's within cost parameters, though this is definitely not cost chronometer certified. There we are, that's it back on wrist, and don't spit your chips. I've been mostly wearing it on a NATO strap. Not normally a fan of NATO's, but I think this watch really suits a black NATO. And the fact that it is less than 13mm thick means a slim one like this you can slip under there even if it's a double pass, no problems at all. Tonally, I think that looks fantastic. And also fantastic is the legibility. It's not a big watch at 39mm, not a particularly big dial either, but the hands are long, they're white, they're against a dark green dial, and those white markers on that black ceramic bezel also stand out a mile. Very nice. Outside natural light, legibility is also pretty good. Couple more layers of anti-reflective undercoating would not have gone amiss because it is flat sapphire crystal, but hey, it doesn't do too badly for itself, I don't think. Very nice colour combination with that DLC bezel especially. On wrist, on the NATO, still no problem at all. Compact lug to lug, like I said, it's not a big watch. I reckon you have a lot of flexibility as to what straps you end up putting this one on. It's a shame I can't show you the stainless steel bracelet, but hey, they only sent me this one with that leather strap. And the pocket shot to finish, I've gone above and beyond the Call of Duty today, and I have colour matched my outfit to the watch. Well, sort of. It was coincidence, but it does go rather nicely, doesn't it? So the moment of truth then. Is there going to be a moans and niggles section today? Well, yeah, there is, but I'm only going to be complaining about one thing. One thing that I complained about in the original review, and one thing that I don't think they've improved sufficiently with this version 2. That being the loom. Here's what I had to say in 2018. The loom. BGW9, and not an awful lot of it. Now this is a pre-production prototype. Andy says they are going to be improving the BGW9 on production units, but yeah, they need to because it isn't fantastic. I can't help but feel that they missed a trick here by not going for some tritium tubes or something. If this is a vampire's watch, if this is Dracula's watch, then he needs to be able to see clearly after dark, and you're not going to be able to see clearly after dark with this one, I'm afraid. But overall, I really like this thing. It was a good watch in the first place. I love the way it looks, and it just goes to show that it doesn't take an awful lot. It won't have cost a fortune, I'm sure, to design a new case back to make the watch slimmer, to sort out that buckle to make it a realistic size, and to change that bezel and insert. They've kept the look. I really like that kind of clean modern design, but it is actually usable in a way that the first one was kind of style over substance. It wasn't really usable at all. And crucially, they haven't increased the price, which I think is commendable. But they have left just enough room for improvement to open the door for a Peren Nera version 3. So there you have it, the Peren Nera Rogue. Undoubtedly an improvement over the Peren Nera Mark 1. Who knew I actually know what I'm talking about? Sometimes. If you like the look of this one, why not check out my original review of the Nera? Also, why not check out the review of their rather unusual hints? Thanks for watching. See you again soon.